Hello, my name is Bryan Uri, and this is the Architectural Design Final Academic Discussion. My name is Bryan Uri, and this is,
Adolfo Lopez.
and we're going to be doing a presentation on our work for the final for Architectural Design 2. Let's begin. All right, so first here we have the Hanselman and or Douglas house. I was assigned the Douglas house. And first, for my portion, as you can see here on this screen, we have a completed version, completely digitized version of my original on paper work. The modular system is there. There is the apertures. There is the radial system that is outlined more clearly. You have the circulation system as well. What I learned from this assignment is that this assignment was more to help us visualize the workings of space and the workings of at least how different systems interact with each other, right? I did take as well many criticisms as well. For example, for my drawing, originally on paper, it was too complex. In the modular system, there was too many lines and such, and this drawing has slightly less lines, and the line work is a little clearer in this digitized version, so that you can tell at least what's going on if you follow line work. Moving on. Next, I have here my model. This is my model for the final. This is my model for the final that we have here. These are four different shots of the same angle. It is oriented on the same axis. It's standing. These are four different photos here. And for my model, there are, of course, three different parts of it. There's three different sections. There's observe, study, and gather. Observe is on the very top here. So I also have my model here in person that I can show the other angle. Observe is on the very top here. And observe is categorized by many different planes that have different elevations that overlook each other because for my definition, I often put that observe is a place where you're overlooking another space or overlooking another moment from a different level or from a different axis or perspective. You're looking at something that's different, right? You're observing something that's a little different, and that is what the observe is there. Going lower, oh, and by the way, the main structure here, or at least the main primary system here for the observe is chipboard planar pieces. Then going down, we have study, and study is primarily located on another orientation right here. So this would be for this drawing right here. This drawing right here, you can see a little bit of the study, but study is defined by, or at least how I define it, more enclosed spaces, private spaces that are more enclosed and more closer in position in relation to each other. It's a more tight-knit space, a space that is more intimate for the experience of the person. And then finally, we have here the bottom, which is gather. And gather is categorized by, once again, flat planar pieces, but flat planar pieces that interact with linear elements to create this sort of flat space that in a way flows to each other, creating an overall space that meets together. You see, this is one primary modem of gather. It's a very flat planar plane. And a lot of these planes, while you might not be able to see it on these photos here, I can show it here to the camera here. A lot of these planes are actively cutting and splitting through the stereotomic system. So they are directly interacting with the stereotomic system. And then for the bottom, definitely linear system. The linear system is definitely for observation the go-to, as you can see on some of these images here. So here I have my space and axonometric for the model that we just saw. These are transferred from paper to digital. These are my final digitized versions that we have here. Here we have just the space drawing. It shows the space is a split. It goes approximately 2 inches back for one of the faces. And this just shows the main mass here, the main stereotomic mass. As you can see, a lot of the linear pieces are located more at the bottom. That's where gather is. Then you see there's a lot more empty space at the top because that's where the planar pieces are. However, in this section cut here for space, a lot of the planar pieces did not interfere necessarily up here. But we do see in the middle gather area that some of those planar pieces indeed come because they are more compressed and there's more enclosed spaces there. So we can see that came through here. on that second moment of study. Here we have the final axon, and it's complete with the planar planes and all that, the yellow planes. There's areas where it's cutting through and whatnot. And yeah, that is the overall for that. And that should be it on my end. I'm going to pass it over to Adolfo, who's going to now review his as well.
Yeah, so with me with the Douglas house, it was very challenging as it was not only to be more precise in lining and spacing, but to also give a clear, conscious, and visual view of what the person that who has not seen this house building before would look at it, whether it be like either an opening, the stairwell, hallway, it could be any of that. So when doing the Douglas house in the process, it was very complex, just like Bryan has done with this. But overall, with the Douglas house, it was a great challenge to build on it. With our models, overall, you can see that right here on the top, it's supposed to be more open, more visual spacing, as discussed for observation, or into my definition of the observation. Now, in the middle, about I say right here, it's more of a gathering space. Yeah, overall is a good model for this. When it came to the isometrics, so all the yellow trace paper right there is where all the open space is going to be, right? And also where more of the social aspect of it can be placed. And with the second paper on the flat where the actual space is within, it's going to be very open. Overall, from what we learned in this is that architecture, or so far our projects have these models, it could be very challenging. It'd be very difficult at times. Like me and Brian done, right? Over the course of the time in the class, it's been more understanding, it's been more mind building as as a term to as the process of making these models and designs. But overall, it has been a great academics for us in building.
At the beginning, I wasn't trying to design a building. Instead, I focused more on understanding the relationship between subatomic and tectonic system, and try to combine more linear systems together. For me, the subatomic elements represent the mass and like strong buildings and strong systems. It's more about weight and the idea of being carved from the ground. That's why I use plaster for those pieces and try to make more like a bigger, a more relevant one. The tectonic elements represent lightness, connections, and structures, so I use the chipboard to create the linear framework. During the design process, I experimented with the compositions and tested how the heavy and light elements could support and define each other. I added more linear moments to create movement through my whole system. The model, while making sure the plaster volumes remain the main interest of composition. Instead of creating recognizable building, I wanted to explore a spatial relationship through abstraction. The Tbilisi house analysis helped me understand how different disorganized space. I learned that architecture is not about the final form, but also about how solids and voids, structure and mass work together to create experiences. Looking at those precedents taught me how to balance compression and openness and how they can separate the volumes.
All right. Well, you heard it here, folks. We thank you so much for watching and tuning in, and we hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you may be. Thank you.